The concept of good and evil has been a theme for thousands of years, maybe more depending on what you believe. Now in any case, there is one character who is a ringleader for evil deeds inside of the two largest religions in the world, Islam and Christianity. This creature goes by many names: Satan, the devil, Iblis, Diablo, etc. Welcome back to another episode of FTD Facts. My name is Leroy Kenton, and in this episode I'm looking at 5 of the main similarities and 5 main differences between the Islamic view of Satan and the Christian view. So yeah, that gives us a total of 10. Now I also will be responding to your comments at the end of this episode for further discussions and everything, so be sure to watch this video all the way till the end. Now before we hop right in, leave a like on this episode, and if this is your first time here, hit that subscribe button and ring that bell to be notified of our daily new episodes. Alright, let's start off at number 10. He is an enemy, and this is a similarity that these religions have. So if you look in the Bible, the term devil and Satan are used interchangeably. The word Satan means adversary or enemy, and the name devil means slanderer or accuser. Another name attributed to Satan in most Christian traditions is Lucifer. And now the name Lucifer appears only once in the Bible in the book of Isaiah, and the name Lucifer means light bearer or carrier of light, and it's sometimes even translated to morning star. Now perhaps the most detailed description of Satan is found in the book of Ezekiel, which I'll read in just a moment. But before I do that, one thing to point out is that according to the Bible, the prophet Ezekiel is ordered to speak to the king of Tyre, and Tyre is a city in Lebanon, and that this king is believed to be a representation of Satan. And you'll see why that's a popular belief when I read the passage. It's found in Ezekiel chapter 28 verses 12 to 17, and it goes as follows: Son of man, take up a lament concerning the king of Tyre and say to him, this is what the sovereign Lord says. You were the seal of perfection, full of wisdom and perfect in beauty. You were in Eden, the garden of God. Every precious stone adorned you: carnelian, chrysolite, and emerald, topaz, onyx, and jasper, lapis, lazuli, turquoise, and beryl. Your settings and mountings were made of gold. On the day you were created, they were prepared. You were appointed as a guardian cherub, for so I ordained you. You were on the holy mount of God. You walked among the fiery stones. You were blameless in your ways from the day you were created, till wickedness was found in you. Through your widespread trade, you were filled with violence, and you sinned. So I drove you in disgrace from the mount of God, and I expelled you, guardian cherub, from among the fiery stones. Your heart became proud on account of your beauty, and you corrupted your wisdom because of your splendor. So I threw you to the earth. I made a spectacle of you before kings. You'll also find in the Bible that Satan is actually given dominion over angels. And that's found in the book of Revelation chapter 12 verses 7 to 10. It said, then war broke out in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon and his angels fought back. But he was not strong enough, and they lost their place in heaven. The great dragon was hurled down, that ancient serpent called the devil or Satan. He leads the whole world astray. He was hurled to earth, and his angels with him. Then I heard a loud voice in heaven say, now have come the salvation and the power and the kingdom of our God, and the authority of his Messiah. For the accuser of our brothers and sisters, who accuses them before God day and night, has been hurled down. Now in this passage, Michael is identified in the Bible as the archangel or the ruler of the angels, even more powerful than Gabriel. And Satan is also seen having his team of angels who were thrown down from heaven. And actually, let's look at that point specifically, casting down to earth. In the Bible, in Luke chapter 10 verse 17, it says, the 72 returned with joy and said, Lord, even the demons submit to us in your name. And Jesus replied and said, I saw Satan fall like lightning from heaven. Now Satan compares the sight of seeing Satan fall from heaven to lightning, which is interesting because it's similar to the Islamic teaching that angels were created from light. It's also believed that Satan can transform into a holy angel, and this is found in the book of 2 Corinthians 11 verses 13 in the Bible. It says, for such as false apostles, deceitful workers, transforming themselves into apostles of Christ, and no wonder, for Satan Satan himself transforms himself into an angel of light. Therefore, it is no great thing if his ministers also transform themselves into ministers of righteousness, whose end will be according to their works. So that was a look at 5 points from Christianity. We're going to see how they compare now with the 5 next points taken from the Islamic faith. So for the most part, the Quran uses 2 interchangeable names. Iblis comes from the Greek diabolos and corresponds to the English term devil, and the other name, shaitan, comes from the same Hebrew root as the English word Satan. So we see the similarities there in terms of the name. And the next point I want to get into is he's the worst enemy. So Satan in Islam is also labeled as an enemy or adversary. In the Quran, Surah 2, verses 208, it says, "O you who believe, you shall embrace total submission. Do not follow the steps of Satan, for he is your ardent enemy." Also in the Quran, Surah 6, verses 142, it says, "Some livestock supply you with the transportation, as well as bedding materials. Eat from God's provisions to you, and do not follow the steps of Satan. He is your most ardent enemy." We also see in Islam that Satan was cast down to earth. So according to certain Islamic traditions, a supernatural being named Azazel, which is believed to be the original name of Iblis or Satan, and this being was cast down to earth for refusing to bow down to God's creation, Adam. Now, once he was demoted, Azazel, whose name became Iblis, actually worked with a serpent to tempt Adam and Eve to eat the forbidden fruit. Now, the question is he an angel made of light? So, Iblis has long been a figure of speculation among Muslim scholars who have been really trying to explain some of the mystery around Iblis in the Quran as him being an angel or a jinn. And they look at contradictions in the terms as angels were created of light and are actually incapable of sin, while jinns are created from fire and they're able to sin. Now there's various Islamic traditions that point to numerous conflicting thoughts about Iblis, who is simply a jinn, who somehow found his way among the angels of heaven. Perhaps God allowed him, according to some traditions. And similar to the Christian belief, there are some Muslims who believe that the Quran clearly identifies Iblis as an angel. In the Quran, Surah 2, verses 34, it says, "When we said to the angels, fall prostrate before Adam, they fell prostrate except Satan. He refused, was too arrogant, and a disbeliever." Also in the Quran, Surah 7, verses 11, it says, "We created you, then we shaped you. Then we said to the angels, fall prostrate before Adam. They fell prostrate except Iblis, or Satan. He was not with the prostrators." And finally, the last point I want to look at is he a jinn made of fire? So let's take a look at that. Now there's arguments that Iblis or Satan was a jinn also in the Quran. So you'll find in the Quran, Surah 18, verses 50, it says, "And remember, when we said unto the angels, fall prostrate before Adam, they fell prostrate, all except Iblis. He was of the jinn." So according to a major opinion of Muslim scholars, Iblis is from the jinn and created from fire. He, however, was amongst the foremost of the jinn in worship, and he was actually then elevated to the heavens to live among the angels by the will of God. Now this position was taken away from him after he showed arrogance and jealousy and disobedience to God, and he was thrown down upon the earth to be humiliated and completely banished from the heavens. It's believed that he no longer deserved to be in the blessed company of the angels. So although yes, there is some conflicting views about whether or not he is an angel or a jinn, popular Muslim beliefs, the majority of Muslims say that no, Iblis 100% is a jinn. He's not an angel. So I classified that as a difference. So to wrap this episode up, the similarities between Satan and Islam and Christianity are as follows. Looking at the similarities, we have Satan was allowed to be among the angels. He was thrown down to earth. He's an enemy of humans, and he existed before humans. He also had an elevated status. Now, in terms of the differences, in Christianity, he was an angel, a cherub more specifically, and in Islam, he's identified as a jinn by the majority of Muslims, like I mentioned. The next difference is he has rulership over his own angels in Christianity. Now, in Islam, he has no influence over any angels. And then he was originally dressed with precious stones and was beautiful powerful inside of the Christian belief, and in Islam he was made out of fire. And the final difference is he can transform to look like a holy angel in Christianity, and there's no mention of that in Islam because he's a jinn. And the final difference is that in Christianity the term Lucifer, or the bringer of light, or the light bearer, or morning star depending on the translation, is associated with Satan, but he's never given such an association in Islam. Alright guys, so that is it. As always, join in on the conversation. Leave your thoughts and comments down below. Now let's get into some comment responses. So this is a segment that we'll be including in some of our episodes where we get a chance to respond to feedback, offer clarification about anything, and just have further discussion in general about the topics that we cover. And I'm going to be responding to comments from the episode titled 10 Surprising Differences Between Angels and Jinn in Islam. Joshua Brooks said, make a video with Solomon having power over all the jinn. Yeah, and I think that would be a very fascinating one because, you know, I've done a lot of reading in the different religious books. I've read the Bible, pretty much most of the Bible, the Quran, haven't read as much, and then, you know, the Hindu texts as well. And I did come across a story of Solomon having power over the jinn, and I don't have much knowledge about Solomon and his relationship with the jinn. Like, how much power did he have over them? Was he able to tell them to do anything and they would just do it? Like, I don't know. So yeah, I definitely think that this is something that we'll make a video on. So thanks for bringing that to my attention and suggesting that. The next comment comes from Shami Arif, and he says, correction at 4 minutes and 16 seconds. To believe in the existence of jinn is also a crucial aspect in Islam because the Quran, surah number 72, is named Al-Jinn. And you know, that was in response to me saying that believing in jinn is actually not essential like believing in angels in Islam, because Islam has 6 articles of faith, and one of them is the belief in angels. There's no mention of the belief in jinn as being an article of faith. Although, yes, a Muslim would definitely believe in jinn, and I believe that is an important part to the religion. I wasn't trying to rule out the belief of jinn at all. So I was just saying that, yeah, the belief in angels is like it's like an elevated thing. Hope that made sense. The next commenter is NG. Please do not show images in these kinds of videos. Okay, so sometimes I see this in the comments and I'm left sort of confused. It's like, okay, we know that these are artistic depictions of like angels and jinn and all of that, and that's really what it is, just for educational purposes versus having a video where, you know, you're just seeing me. But that's literally it, because, you know, we know people from all different backgrounds and different beliefs watch our videos, right? And because we put an image in a video does not mean like, okay, this is exactly how the thing looks. I don't know. We don't know. We just use it strictly for adding some life to the visuals of our episodes. And finally, the last commenter I'm going to respond to is Your Nemesis, and he says, bro, angels have free will. It's just that they can't go against God's will. They talk to each other or people like Gabriel and others. Okay, so this comment was actually a little tricky to respond to because free will suggests that you can choose to do anything you want. But saying that they can't go against God's will, that wouldn't be free will. So it's like, it's either or. Like, is it free or is it not free? It's probably, according to the Islamic view, you can correct me if I'm wrong, like limited will. Like, same with other animals like dogs, and they have a limited will, but normally they go off of instinct. They can't necessarily do what we humans do. And the angels, I'm sure we can't, you know, we can't do things that they do, but to call it free will would have to be completely free. They would need to be able to go against God. That's just how I understand it in my mind. Alright guys, so that's all I have for you in this episode. Thanks for joining me here on another episode of FTD Facts. Now before you head on out, I have a video that I highly recommend that I'm going to leave you with coming up right now. Alright guys, it's been awesome hanging out with you. See you soon.